In 2024, I read a total of 58 books, and I have ranked them from the worst book I read to the best book I read. I'm going to go through all of them. I'm going to try and rapid fire this just because I do not want it to be a long video. Let's try and do a sentence per book. I think that's reasonable. Okay, so I have my little spreadsheet and my laptop here with me. So we will start from the bottom and work up to the top. Let's start. In 58th place, I have The Mental Toughness Handbook. I gave this book 1 star. Honestly, I didn't have a lot to say about it. I just didn't like it. It just felt like it was trying to do something that it wasn't giving. You know, it wasn't giving what it was trying to give. Having a degree in psychology can make it quite hard sometimes to read certain non-fiction books, and this was one of them. It might be good for someone else, not for me. And next, I have Ugly Love. I gave this book 1.5 stars. This book, the plot was not plotting. It wasn't good. I really don't like this book. What can I say? I didn't root for the main characters at all, and there's a few questionable lines in there in terms of the writing. If you look up Ugly Love, you know what I mean. But anyway, next, The Greatest Secret. I gave this book 2 stars. This book was completely all over the place with the message that it was trying to give. It tried to go kind of spiritual, but then not be spiritual in the same way. It felt like it was trying to repackage some concepts and ideas that have been around for many, many years. And it felt like it was trying to be repackaged and sold back to me in the form of another book, and I just really didn't like it. Next, I have Twisted Love. Now, this book was not terrible, okay? I gave it 2.5 stars. I just felt like it was really far-fetched. Do you know, it might have got 3 stars if Mr. Alex didn't start singing. I know that some people think that actually it felt like a really endearing thing for him to do, but to me, it felt out of character. It felt weird, and you know, it felt really like icky, to be honest. Like, I got the ick reading it. In terms of the plot, it was not that bad. It surprised me, it caught me off guard, so that was a really good thing. I also just didn't feel chemistry between our main characters. I didn't really root for them, which I think in a romance you kind of need. Next, I have The Housemaid's Wedding. So this is actually 2 stars, but I preferred it slightly over Twisted Love in the ranking. Okay, so this book, I gave it 2 stars because I just felt like it didn't add anything to the overarching story. It was more of like a cutesy scenes of something, you know, of a wedding, and I would have preferred for it to have just been like a chapter in the 3rd book or something, or a chapter in the last book, like just something that bridges rather than as a novella, because by itself it just did not give me enough. I just felt like it was just unnecessary, really. Next, I have The Ex-Hex. I gave this one a 2.5 stars. To be honest, I forgot that I read this book until I was going through this, so I think that says quite a lot in terms of how much I enjoyed it. I don't know, I just felt like it was really slow. The pacing was awful for me. I just didn't really enjoy it. It kind of ended up being a little bit cutesy in the end, but that was about it. I just didn't get much enjoyment out of it, unfortunately. Next, I have The Maid. Now, I gave this 2.75 stars. I actually felt like this had a way stronger first half than the second half, and that's where it started losing points for me, because I really liked the premise. I thought it was going to be sort of way more mind-blowing, way more interesting, but it just didn't end up being that way. I actually quite liked Molly. I liked her quirkiness, and I liked that she was close to her grandma. I think that was really sweet, but it just, I don't know, it just ended up falling really flat for me. Next, I have Hooked. I gave this 3 stars. This was a more recent read. It was in December, so I have revised the rating a little bit because it was 3.25 originally, but then I realised, you know what? It wasn't that good. This book, it was entertainment. It felt like I was watching like a cringy movie. I don't know how to really describe it. It was just like, it wasn't great. It was entertaining. That's why I gave it 3 stars, because I still felt entertained throughout and I still wanted to find out what happened and read to the end. I also really enjoyed the retelling elements of it, so all the connections to the original Peter Pan, Captain Hook, and all that stuff. I really, really liked that part, so that's why I didn't want to take away from that. And the plot itself still surprised me. I think the thing that I could not kind of get past sometimes was the ickiness of this man, okay? James, the main guy who is Captain Hook, he just felt so icky. There was no point in time when I wanted them to get together or wanted them to be together, because it was so insta-lusty, okay? Which, it's not for me. I don't like insta-lust, especially when they end up being in love, but there seems to be no development, because what? You're telling me that you did a little whatevers and then you're in love? No, you're full of hormones. But moving on, so next I have It Starts With Us. This is the sequel to It Ends With Us. I gave this 3 stars. This honestly was okay. That's the best way I can describe it. Really, I think It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us should have just been one book, because It Starts With Us felt too long. I think that It Starts With Us could have been half the size. It was literally just to give Lily and Atlas a happy ending. Like, that's all it was meant for. So I'm like, why would you not just, I don't know, make It Ends With Us longer? Like, I don't know, is that not what's logical? But I'm not sure. I'm not the writer. Just above that, I have It Ends With Us, which I also gave 3 stars. It Ends With Us, blimey, with the amount of drama going on in Hollywood about this movie, I mean, right now is kind of insane. But, you know, let's ignore all of that. The book itself, it was okay. Like, it was okay. It was okay. That's, again, best way I can describe it. It was meh. Like, it was okay. The story, okay. I actually had no idea that this book was going to be about DV, to be honest, when I read it, because it was sold to me online as a cutesy romance, but it was not. Perhaps my fault for not researching it more, but genuinely, with the amount of people that loved it, I just did not think it would be anything bad. But that's my bad, to be honest. But I actually think it could have got a higher rating if it didn't feel cliche, right? Because when I was reading it, I actually thought it was going to end up being way darker in the end. If you think about things I thought from the title, It Ends With Us, I really thought it was going to be like something else. But it did feel a little bit cliche, but it still felt good. Like, it still felt like the ending was satisfying in the context that it was. Like, I was really glad that that's the way that it ended. And next I have The Lost Sisters. So this is a novella in the Cruel Prince universe. This book I gave 3 stars. This, honestly, it was still enjoyable. It's just that it was just letters between the sisters, so it didn't feel like it was adding loads to the story. It was like, it felt more like fan bonus content, which it was, and I am, so I was still happy. And next, I have Reminders of Him. This book I gave 3 stars. This, again, it was okay. Honestly, very questionable things do go on in this book, but I just felt like it was a happy enough of an ending that was like, okay. You know, I was kind of just like, okay, sure, like, let's go with it. But I really don't like the characters that get together. It felt so icky to me because of the previous relationships of other people. If you've read it, you know what I mean. I would have risen from the grave if my best friend did that to me, I'm just saying. And next I have Killjoy. So this is the prequel novella to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Now, I gave this book 3 stars, and that's mainly because it was more just like context as to why Pip chose to do her EPQ and what she ended up doing it on. So it was still enjoyable, and again, I feel like this is kind of like The Lost Sisters. It was a really good bit of extra fan service content, which I still love. And it was enjoyable, and to be honest, it was really interesting actually, like, getting context of what really made her make her decision effectively. So it was still good, and I would recommend it if you loved A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Like, to me, that was a 5-star book, so it was like perfect for me. But if you didn't love it that much, then I would probably skip it because you just wouldn't get much out of it, I feel. We have another little non-fiction sprinkled in. We have Atomic Habits. So I gave this book 3.5 stars. This book was honestly not that bad. It did feel like it was written a little bit not well. I didn't love the writing in this book. I get that it's supposed to kind of be quite digestible, but I do feel like it was not written in the most digestible way for someone. I don't know. I don't love it. Yeah, I didn't think that much of it. I think that it was still useful, good reminders, but not like the way that, you know, I see people online obsessed over this book is kind of crazy. Again, is it because I studied psychology? I don't know. Maybe. Am I maybe a hater? Maybe. I don't know. I just it didn't just do much. It didn't do much for me. Basically, is what I'm saying. And next, in 44th place now, I have Bride. I actually gave this book 3 stars, but in my ranking, I ended up ranking it above Atomic Habits. So maybe I should be changing my ratings, but I'm not going to because I'm too lazy. Now, this book, it was entertaining. Again, this is the best way I can describe Bride, was that it was entertaining and it was pretty enjoyable. But one thing that I felt was lacking was chemistry between the main characters. I actually kind of liked the characters by themselves, but I feel that there was a bit of a mismatch between them. I didn't feel the chemistry. I didn't root for them. So I think that just, it takes it away. Like when you're reading a romance, you need to root for the characters in some way, I think. And I just felt nothing. I felt nothing there. And next I have Fracture Me, which is a novella in the Shatter Me series. This book I gave 3.5 stars. This was Adam's book, and I just didn't love Adam. I didn't really want to hear his opinions, to be honest. This book just made me dislike him more. Yeah, that's it. I just didn't really want to hear from him. And next, I have Regretting You. This one I gave 3.5 stars as well. So this book was actually pretty decent, I think. This book was interesting. I liked having sort of an adult mother romance going on as well as the child one. I actually enjoyed having following these 2 different stories, and the child one was just really cute. It was. I just felt like when there's a little declaration for her, it was that's so it's just cute. So that made me quite happy. It put a smile on my face, so she gets a decent rating. However, when Ms. Gurley decided not to read those letters, I was like, what? Why would you not read them? I would be dying if I never found out. I would want to know the truth so bad. Next, I have The Housemaid is Watching. This book I gave 3.5 stars. I still quite enjoyed this book, but I think that for me it was missing the housemaid feel that the first 2 books had, because she just felt really different. But at the same time, I get it, she's older, she's got kids, it's a different era of her life. The twist that happens, it still got me. I really didn't expect it. And in 40th place, I have A Court of Frost and Starlight. This book I gave 3.5 stars. This was enjoyable. It was a cutesy little Christmas special in the series, but it just did not give me much. I felt like it was just and I hope you're hungry for nothing. It didn't give nothing, but it kind of just felt like nothing was added to the whole series. It was just a cute little fun time after Court of Wings and Ruin, which I'm okay, fair. It was a very stressful time, but I didn't need it personally. Next, I have Ruin and Rising. This is the 3rd book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and I gave this book 3 stars. But I still preferred it over some of the other books, so the ranking does make sense. This book I gave 3 stars because I felt like it was such a flat ending to this trilogy. The trilogy had quite a strong start to me. I really enjoyed the 2nd book, but it just felt so flat. I just felt so disappointed with the ending. The ending was one of the tropes I hate the most that happens to females in fantasies, okay? If you feel my drift, you may know what I'm talking about. It was one of the things that I just hate. So that really kind of just affected the way that I felt about the ending and the series. I still love the beginning. Fell flat at the end, which is a shame. And next, I have Layla. This book I gave 3.5 stars. This was just weird. I read this after I read Verity because I was like, oh, I liked Verity. I'll see how this is. This book was just weird. I didn't predict what was going on, really, because it just felt so odd. I don't know. It was kind of the vibes I was getting while reading, I just didn't expect it. But it was not a good unexpected or a bad unexpected. It was just the fuck unexpected. I actually kind of like the ending, I gotta say. The ending actually made me happy, so that's why it wasn't it didn't fall flat in that way, but it was just weird. I don't think I would ever, I would never read this ever again, and I don't think I would recommend this book to anyone, even people that liked the kinds of things that happen in this book. I would just not recommend it because it was just oh, I don't know. I was like, okay. And then I have Evidence of the Affair. This was a little short novella by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this was a 3.5 stars. This honestly was actually strong. I wish that this was a full book and way more like fleshed out, because it was just really interesting and it was really emotional. I loved the way that Taylor Jenkins Reid writes, and the writing in this was same vibes as always, and it made me really emotional, and really I had myself thinking, like, what would I do in this situation if, you know, this was me with my spouse? Like, I don't know. Next I have Believe Me, which is the final book. It's a novella in the Shatter Me series. This book I gave 3.5 stars, and it is not because it was a bad book. Like, I still loved it, I still love the series, but I think that it was a little bit too long for what went on. I don't know. There was just something that I felt was slightly missing, even though I still loved what was going on. And Kenji and Aaron, their development of a friendship is insane. They're those two guys that don't want to admit that they actually rate the other one and that they like being friends, because they pretend they're not friends, you know? And I love their dynamic. And next I have Akata. I gave this book 3.75 stars. I actually liked Akata. I think that it was just too slow for me in the beginning. It felt slow until the last 30%. Beginning 10%, I was kind of intrigued, and then that whole medium, you know, level gap was very slow for me, and I just didn't love it, you know, but I still liked it enough, obviously, that I wanted to read the rest of the series. It was very close to being 4 stars. If the pacing was just a little bit better, and if I felt more intrigued, I was interested in what was going to happen, but because all I could think about while reading it was like, this is giving Beauty and the Beast, because I did not know that it was a retelling in the beginning. That kind of just affected the way that I was reading it for some reason, and I just couldn't get my mind off of it. So now we have done all the books that I rated under 4 stars. From now it goes 4 stars and up. So all these books I like. There's not going to be a whole thing of like, I just didn't like this book. We're not saying any more of that, okay? No more negative vibes. So next I have Destroy Me. This is the first novella that we get in the Shatter Me series, and I really liked this because we got to see Juliet's journal, got to see a little bit more in here, and Girly was a bit unhinged, so fair, and we really got to see some more of Aaron and Aaron's point of view right after the events of Shatter Me, which was exactly, I think, what was needed. Next, I have The Boyfriend by Freida McFadden. This book I actually really liked. I really liked the dual timeline. It was... yeah, do you know what? I didn't expect what was going on in this. This one seriously caught me off guard, and I loved it. The epilogue, that was chef's kiss. Epilogue was perfect, but I wanted to know more. I needed more information then. So next up is How the King of Alfheim Learned to Hate. I gave this book 4 stars, but actually this was a novella, and I loved it. It was really good. Again, this was another one that is just like bonus content for fans, and I really enjoyed it. It just gave some nice outlook into Carden and his childhood, and yeah, and also the illustrated edition is gorgeous. And next, still in the world of Alfheim, I have The Stolen Heir. I gave this book 4 stars. This book I really enjoyed. It felt slightly slow at times, but overall it was a really strong book. I still enjoyed it. Next I have the technical, like, final full book in the Shatter Me series, which is Imagine Me. I really like this book. It's just like, something about it at the end just made me feel kind of, you know, there was something missing, and honestly I don't really know what it was, because I gave 5 stars to Defy Me and Restore Me, like the books leading up to it effectively. But it's just, it's hard sometimes to have a final book be like the best, so I'm gonna just attribute it to that, really. And next I have Reveal Me, which is one of Kenji's novellas in the Shatter Me series. I gave this one 4 stars. I honestly just love Kenji, and hearing from his POV is one of my favourite things in the series, and him getting his own little novella to add to talk about some of the events that went on and his insight and perspective was perfect. It was exactly what was needed. I loved it. And next I have The Midnight Library. So this book I gave 4 stars. This one I felt was still, it was a really like wholesome reminder. It was a strong book. I just felt like some of the themes in it was a little bit, it just felt a little bit cliche in points, but it was still like nice. In 27th place, I have Shatami. Okay, the beginning of this series I've mentioned multiple times. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. It was a pretty strong start and it got me very intrigued for the rest of the series. Next, I have Verity. I gave this book 4 stars. This book, the ending still haunts me a bit, to be honest, because I'm just like, what's the truth? I just don't know. And I've read the bonus chapter in the like republished version or something. I have even more questions now, and they're not answered. And now I know they're gonna make a movie, so I'm gonna be like, is there gonna be a hint in the movie of, you know, a letter or manuscript? Because I just need to know. And in next place is Garden of Serpents. This is the 3rd book in the City of Thorns series, and I gave this book 4 stars. I still enjoyed this. This is an ending that I don't always love in books, but I actually felt like it was very wholesome and nice for Orion in this, so I did enjoy it. And then right above that I have City of Thorns. I also rated this 4 stars. This one I just felt, obviously it was the beginning of the series, it's what hooked me in, it's what reeled me in to read the series. And again, I enjoyed it. It was good, like it was a good bit of fun, it was some fantasy, some romance, it was good. I liked it. Next I have The Housemaid's Secret. This one I gave 4.25 stars. This book was really good. I was not expecting it to turn out the way that it did. When I can't say things. The plot twist that happens was crazy. I love the almost like layered ending that happens, and then the big twist being in the epilogue was perfect. Absolutely perfect. I loved it. And next I have Unravel Me. This I gave 4.5 stars. This one I felt was a little bit better than Shatame. We got a little bit more of Aaron coming in there, learning a little bit more, and Juliet saying she wants to unravel him, the mystery that he is. And she does. Yeah, she does. Next, in 21st place, I have A Court of Silver Flames. This was a 4 stars. I still liked this book. Nesta is one of those characters that just has me too conflicted, I think, on how I feel about her. Because on the one hand, I see her. I do see her. But on the other hand, there are just things that she's done that I just feel that can't be excused for in the same way. I don't know. But I think overall I like Nesta as a character. I'm just not loving her. But I think people do overhate on her. I have to say, she's someone who is a very complicated person, and that is definitely overlooked a little bit in the beginning of the series. But I feel that I started seeing different parts of Nesta already in A Court of Wings and Ruin. The events in that made me instantly know, whoa, like Nesta, I see you. And then you see her more. So yeah, I still liked it. This book, honestly, it was just a little bit long for me. But otherwise, yeah, it was a good journey book. It was a good self-journey book, and then a physical journey book that she takes on later on. It was good. Next, I have The Things We Leave Unfinished. This I gave 4.25 stars. So this book, this was one that was a bit of a rogue one. I had no idea what this was about, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't really know where it was going to go in the beginning, and the way that it ended, I was shook. To be honest. I didn't really root for the current timeline as much, but the previous timeline, the war setting, everything about that was chef's kiss, so I loved it. Next, I have Kenji's other novella, Shadow Me, and this I gave 4.5 stars. I think this was possibly my favourite novella in the series, thinking about it now. Again, I love Kenji. I love hearing his point of view. I think he's great, and he's just like the perfect balance in the series to have. And next I have The Cruel Prince. So I gave this 4.5 stars. I absolutely love this series, and I just love Jude. Like, Jude is one of my favourite female characters. She's amazing, she slays, and she can do no wrong in my opinion. Next I have Lord of Embers. This one I gave 4.5 stars. This is the 2nd book in the City of Thorns series. Honestly, I really liked this book. This was my favourite one in the series, I think, because they go on a little bit of a journey. They do some excursions to interesting places, and yeah, it was really enjoyable. We learned more about Orion. It was just a really good 2nd book, to be fair. It did not have middle book syndrome. It had best middle book syndrome, whatever you want to call that. And then I have The Housemaid. So I gave this 4.5 stars. The Housemaid, I loved it. It kept me on my feet. I had to keep reading. I read it in literally 2 sittings. what can I say? It was great. It kept me on my toes. I didn't expect what was going to happen. It was like the right level of unhinged and unexpected in something that wasn't like super dark. And next, in 15th place, I have Iron Flame. This was 4.5 stars. Honestly, this was a really good second book still to me. I think it's just that it felt a little bit long. Not very long. It just felt like, I think it's because this book had very even pacing, but I actually really like the timeline and the revelations and what we learn in this book. Next, I have 1984. I did give this book 5 stars. This book, honestly, it's going to live with me. It had a very profound impact on me. It was very thought-provoking. It's a lot, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Next, I have The Wicker King. Now, this I actually gave 4.75 stars. This is my second favorite book in that trilogy. I really enjoyed it. This book was so close to a 5 stars, obviously by the rating. There was just a little something that the Queen of Nothing had over it. And in 12th place, I have A Court of Mist and Fury. This was a 4.75 stars. I love the romance in this. I love the development in this. Usually what people say is that either that or A Court, Wings and Ruin is the favourite in the series. I'm a Wings and Ruin gal. Yeah. And in 11th place, I have Ignite Me. So I gave this one 4.75 stars. This is when Aaron starts getting a little bit juicier in the series, and obviously I love it. And this is also when the Shasmi really is, the action is going. Like it's really actiony at this point, because the beginning is a bit of a slower one. But the action, yeah, it really gets going, and I loved it. I loved it. And now we have entered the top 10. So in 10th place, I have The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's 5 stars. I love this. I'll always love this book. This was a reread for me this year. This is one of those books that I read when I was younger, and I read now, and I'll read again in the future, and I would get my kids to read it. It's witty, it's funny, it's got space. What's not to love? And in 9th place, I have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Also a 5 stars. Everything in top 10 is 5 stars, so I'll stop saying it. So this book, I loved. This made me so emotional in the end, and the ending was just beautiful. Again, Taylor Jenkins Reid, I think you can do no wrong. I love her writing. There's not much I can say here really. Like, the format, the old Hollywood setting, I absolutely loved it. And the format of the interviews, I also loved it. Learning bits and bobs here and there, and actually going through this woman's incredible story was insane. I did predict what was kind of going to happen in the end, and that was sad. I actually shed a few tears reading this one. It really made me feel emotional, so I loved it. In 8th place, I have Restore Me. I love this. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. This was my favourite section of the series. Yeah, I loved it. And then in 7th place is Defy Me. Again, these two books, it was my favourite part of the series. All the action, Aaron and Juliet, like their relationship going on, and Kenji. This is when we get so much of Kenji. We get Kenji's POVs, like Nazira coming in. Like, I love how everything was going. I just love it. And fittingly, in 6th place, I have Six of Crows. I loved this book. This book was perfection, to be honest. Lee Bardugo, you did so well with this. Kaz and Inej, one of my favourite ships now, even though they're not even a couple. The tension was tension, okay? The characters are so multi-layered in this book, and I loved every single character. And in 5th place, I have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I loved this book so much. This book made me cry, okay? An event happens and it literally broke my heart. I needed time to recover. I didn't expect anything in this book. Like, the ending, whoa. The culprit, what? Yeah, I loved it. And I love Pip. And next, I have The Queen of Nothing. This is the 3rd book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. I loved it. The ending in this was just perfection. Like, this was such a great ending of a trilogy. This is how you end a trilogy. I'm just saying. And in 3rd place, I have A Court of Wings and Ruin. This book was just so good. Like, so good. The journey that we go on, the development of the various characters, and the more like book time that we get of other characters as well. It's development between like Nestor, Cassian, and some Azriel in there. Like, I loved it. This book was so satisfying, even though it got a little bit sad here and there, you know. It was just so good. And in 2nd place, I have Fourth Wing. Yeah, what can I say? I love dragons. I love Xaden. I love the story. Filming this right now after reading Onyx Storm. only reaffirms my love for this series. And in first place, my favourite book of the year was When the Moon Hatched. This book was, I think, just the most interesting book, the most interesting format. Everything about it completely caught me off guard. There was nothing in this book that I predicted at all, and yeah, I need to do a reread because, to be honest, it still has me a little bit shook. The ending of that has me literally sat here like I need the second book right freaking now. And yeah, I'm very excited and I loved it. And if you've not read When the Moon Hatched and you love a bit of fantasy with a little bit of romance thrown in too and some dragonness, yeah, you'll like it. I also love Rave, the main character in this. I just love her. She's a really strong female character and she's so witty and sarcastic. I absolutely love it. The banter that's in this, it was bantering and I love that too. Again, I really love this book. So there you go. And that is every single book that I read in 2024 in the order of how much I like them. Honestly, overall as a reading year, it was good. I think that it could have been better, for sure. But that's also because I've also read some pretty good books recently. I hope you guys enjoy the video. I really hope it is not super long. And do comment as well if you've read any of these books and if you like them. A lot of them are some pretty popular, like recent books and stuff as well. So I'm sure there are many people that have. And yeah, I'd love to know people's thoughts. But that will be it for this video. I have talked so long. I'm exhausted. I hope I've not talked your ear off. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed, please go down below, hit the like button and consider subscribing so you never miss a video. But I'll see you guys in the next video real soon. Bye!